England versus France on Saturday, Le Crunch. Where do we see this going?
Oh, well, I think, one of the biggest things about that game, and I think one of the biggest things that's going to decide that game is Smith at 10, which is a do or die thing, I think, for England. What's everybody's thoughts on Smith starting for England?
I think it's Smith's
Question it.
biggest game of his career by a country distance, if I'm being honest. Because even if England lose, but Smith plays outstanding, he will not get dropped. So this is his place to keep. I think after this game, if I'm being honest.
It's what we're going to see is the Smith and Lawrence combination going to work magic, or is it going to be a complete flop? And it's obviously going to excel, in my opinion, but it's going to be a game changing for both of them. See if they can cement their position.
I think at the start of the Six Nations, me and Jack were saying if you have Smith at 10 with just creative attacking threats outside of him, that's when Smith's at his best.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like to think he's got all the tools he needs to have a quality game. But
Yeah,
then
there's no.
a reaction to the selection itself was like, initially I thought, oh, it's a big step in the right direction. And then when you remember how England played with Eddie Jones, they had Ford. Sometimes they put him on the bench. Sometimes he wasn't involved. Sometimes he was starting. So I'm just wondering whether they're using this as like a trial or as like a separate game plan if they still want Fowl to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, as we've all said, give Smith what he has at Harlequins and facilitate him at the national level. Smith, with the form Ollie Lawrence is in now, I honestly think, and it's going to be incredible to watch. I think one of the biggest things holding Smith back, and Brown talked about Eddie Jones, was Eddie Jones not letting Smith play free flowing rugby and it being so systematic. Do you know what I mean? But like, if you want to get the best out of Smith, let him run the game and don't coach. I don't want to say don't coach him, but almost don't coach him. Let him play what feels natural to him.
It's a credibility to Borthwick though, because if nothing's working effectively or as it should be, he's changing it, he's adapting. Where I
Yeah,
think Eddie Jones lacked in that department a little bit.
Yeah.
I
exactly.
think
In a
another
World
thing
Cup
with it.
year.
I think another thing is I think Smith's kicking is gonna. I think that's a huge part of this game because if Smith can prove that he can kick, not obviously he's never going to kick as good as Farrell right now, but I feel
Yeah.
like if he can sort of similar with kicking in territory in the right time, I feel like he can do that. That automatically puts him on the same level as Farrell, and then if he brings the attacking game, and obviously I think he's an underrated defender as well, so I feel like his kicking is a huge part of his game in this game especially.
And I think with Farrell not playing as well and Smith playing, that means there's going to be no confusion. There's one person
Mm,
calling the shots.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it also means that means Smith gets to take on all the responsibility. He does the kicks at goal, he kicks to touch, he kicks from hand. And that's how tens build momentum and get into the game through kicks. And then they settle into the game and start attacking. So it'd be nice to see Marcus Smith play a full, like just show all of his skills.
Exactly, man.
On Farrell not starting, we and him not being a captain, and Ellis Genge given that. What do we think about
Mm,
that?
huge,
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a
huge.
fan of Ellis Genge, so I'd like to see him at
I like
captain.
I like a forwards captain if I'm being honest. I just feel
Mm.
like since obviously the set piece is so big, Genge has a lot of influence with all the set pieces. I feel like him being captain there, I don't know, it feels like it gives the pack a bit more motivation. Don't know if that's just me, but I like a forward captain if I'm being honest.
I agree. It's a good separation of powers, and I feel like it could now properly allow, because I think you're gonna, as we talk about getting the best out of Smith, let him be the leader of the backs. I feel like if you're looking at the setup now, let him captain the backs, let Genge look after the forwards, and I feel like, as Brohan was saying, having Farrell there in that back line was the most limiting thing that was there for Smith, and it didn't allow him to play his game. And I think Genge is someone that will lead from the front for England as well. So it's going to be exciting to watch. It's going to be exciting to watch, I reckon.
Does
Just me, if we look at the other 10, so France is playing Entomac,
Yeah.
but I've noticed in the recent games, Jalibert's coming on a lot earlier than they normally bring him on. And do we think that maybe there's a lack of trust from coach to Entomac, or maybe Entomac hasn't hit form?
To
Well,
be fair, I think Jalibert came on for Ramos in one of the games. So
Yeah.
it's obviously like I don't think it's necessarily a lack of because Zentuak hasn't been as good as he usually is, but it's not like he's playing bad. But I just feel like having Jalibert as a 10 on the bench just shows the trust in him because he's an outstanding 10 and would start for a lot of other nations. So I feel like just
yeah.
giving him more game time, more experience allows France to have two outstanding 10s come the World Cup, in my opinion, anyway.
it's interesting you mentioned Jalibert because he got injured, I think, today or yesterday. So, he's been someone that can come on for France and, provide tempo and offer a differing play style to Intermac. And him not being there for Saturday, I'm not sure if this is a wild take from me, but I think it's going to be probably a massive loss for France in terms of if Intermac's not playing well. I mean, I'm not too sure who France have on the bench to potentially. Jaminet.
I think Jaminet, he's never. I don't know if he's played 10 a lot, but he has the skill set to play 10.
But I think Jalibert is going to be huge. As a loss is going to be huge. I think Intermac has to fire basically, and if he's not, I think that's going to lose France the game with no Jalibert coming off the bench. It's going to be like massive loss.
Another talking point for France. Donty returns in at 12, so that their first choice centre partnership is now back. Mm-hmm. I'd say comfortably this is our first choice centre partnership for England. So who do you think is dominating there? Ollie Lawrence, Henry Slade, or Donty and Fiku?
I think defensively, I think France takes it, to be honest. But I feel like as in getting over the gain line, I think England definitely have a better chance of doing it. And the more,
Sorry. What I saw from Lawrence in the games that he's starting, his intensity in defence, he's going to be meeting whoever he's got to tackle, most likely Donty at the gain line, and Donty is a big source of go forward. So I want to see Lawrence in defence more than attack.
Yeah, I'd say that for Lawrence, he hasn't come up in his England career against probably a 12 that's a similar size to him, and I think that's going to be what's going to be so impactful is can he get over the gain line and be as effective when he's got another 12 who's the same size opposite him? That's the question.
I think. When we obviously did the tier ranking video, we said, Lawrence is showing some potential and he's been showing that the signs have been able to go to that higher level. If he's able to go to France and do it, if he's able to play against France and do it against France, I don't think there's any, I think, he would, for me, just be beneath that sort of Ringrose and Fiku level. He'll be nearing that level, especially if he can carry it on into the World Cup year, because I don't think I've seen anybody in recent times for England burst onto the scene the way he has, because he's been incredible for England so far. Absolutely.
I think this is definitely the hardest centre partnership Ollie Lawrence had to come up against. I feel like it's going to be hard for him to get go forward ball. I know he's a great ball carrier, he's smart, he runs the branches, but when you're against Fiku, one of the best defensive 13s in the world, and Donty, again, like Ryan said, matches him for size, it's going to be hard for them to work out a system to be able to get over the game line consistently. But if they can do that, then that's very good for the World Cup.
I think this is when Lawrence's skills come into play, and how he links up with Marcus Smith and his intelligence, because he's gonna, as much as he is a great ball carrier, he is gonna struggle a bit more. So what's his footwork like? What's his hands like? His ability to offload, his IQ. Does he pick the right lines? This is the big test for him.
Yeah.
So, with all this being said, where do we see the game going?
I mean,
I'll start off and say I'm going to say France by 5.
Yeah, I mean, I also do see a French win. I think looking at the key matchups, you look at the centres. I mean, Malins will be coming up against. Who would Malins be coming up against? Not Pinot.
Demontier.
Yeah. And that French back three versus English back three, the kicking game. I mean, I do see France edging it, but I do expect a masterclass from Smith and Lawrence in that game. So I'm going to say a French win, but it won't be easy.
Jack? I'm going to say England win 27-21.
I'm also good. I think I back the French as well. I feel like backlines, they match up decently well, but I feel like the French forwards, they know what they're doing, and they've showed that every set piece, they know where to go, they know what to do. Skill set's outstanding. So I feel like the France are going to win by 4 or 5 points, maybe a try in it. I think I'll go with.
Yeah, it will be a close game. It's not going to be a walkover, I don't reckon. But no. I think one of the biggest takeaways that we can take away from, especially from like an English perspective, is Borthwick isn't afraid to, switch things up, especially if things are going wrong. Which is, what Ryan was saying earlier, which is probably Eddie Jones's biggest downfall. So like as England fans, like what do you guys take away from Borthwick's decisions to like switch things up?
One decision I don't like is Max Malins on the wing. I just don't see what he brings. That's the one decision that I'm not happy with.
Arundel was right there, who's proved that he can do something inside 5 minutes against Australia. Why not just give him a start? He's an outstanding player. So I again, I don't get the
So,
Maitland.
would-
I don't-
would
And
you-
also, if he's going to be on the bench, give him more than 5 minutes.
yeah, don't bring him on the last like 2 minutes. It makes no sense.
Would you say, Jack, with Borthwick going for Smith, he should just chuck in Arundel as well and just go full blazing and see what they can do in a hard test?
Good, because like if he's going to start Smith over Farrell against France, then why not Arundel over Maitland? Because Arendel's a better player than Maitland, and I don't think it's close, to be honest. So I don't know.
Not at international level, Arundel hasn't proved himself. I don't think.
But for me, Max Malins hasn't proved himself at international level.
No.
And how has he?
2 tries
How
against.
And how was Arundel not? Tally, Arendel's probably played a combined maybe what international, not even a full game combined, and he's scored 2 tries against Australia in 2 tests. And every time he's come on, he's beaten defenders, made carries, and scored tries. So if he's doing that in that little time, give him a full
talk
game.
about 2 tries against Australia. Those are his only 2 tries in Test rugby, and he's got nearly 20 caps.
You mean made against?
Well, this is the
Scotland,
thing.
yeah.
This is the thing. We talk about England having exciting wingers. I 100% agree. But what happened to Ollie Hassel-Collins? The system England plays, I don't think you're necessarily looking for star wingers. You're looking for wingers that can finish off, can operate well in the back 3, which I think Malins can do better than Arundel. I don't think England are looking for flashy wingers.
Okay, well then if you're not looking for a flashy winger, Jack Noel does a better job than Malins.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I can't
And also, you're talking about the ability to finish off tries. He's finished off 2 tries in 17 caps.
And Taddy, it's not like realistically I could have scored both those tries if I. I'm not
Yeah,
being
no,
funny.
facts.
Any of us could have.
And he
It was a
hasn't played
beautiful
rugby for
catch
3
from the
years.
cross kick. It was a beautiful catch from the cross kick.
It was a nice finish from the crossfield, and then he had a walk in.
One other thing, anyway. I want to see Alex Mitchell get a start.
Please.
I don't know. I feel like he proved against, was it Scotland, that he created the
Italy.
try for Arundel? Italy.
Wales. Yeah.
I just think he brings a bit more than Borthwick, to be honest. So I don't know why.
Would you not give Van Poortvliet more time to cook? Like, I think Van Poortvliet, give him more time, because going into the World Cup, he's probably going to be England's number 1 now. I mean, that New Zealand game when England were getting pampered by New Zealand, Jones decided to keep him on and give him more time. And I think it's because he has shown potential to be world class. I do believe he'll be a world class scrum half.
I think he will be a good scrum half. I feel like just give Alex Mitchell a start. Maybe if it's not this game, the next game. I feel like he needs to start this nations.
The thing is, my view on that is, if you've seen in the last 3 games how Van Poortvliet has developed. In the first game, he didn't get the calls right with Farrell. He was going the wrong way. He's starting to now. You're seeing a bit of a trend where he's improving game on game with the partnerships. But the question is, he developed a partnership with Farrell. Can he do it with Smith? That's the question.
Ooh, I'm going to go back on myself here. I think with Smith starting, you want a sort of Alex Mitchell 9, because the way they want to play, Alex Mitchell wants to bring tempo, but Van Poortvliet probably doesn't provide as much tempo as Alex Mitchell can. If you look at, for example, the most famous example of that is the Dupont Intermac combination when it was working. Like, they both brought tempo into the game, but would Van Poortvliet work well with?
You know what? I don't think it's about the 9s and 10s having the same tempo. It's about the 9s and 10s working together to slow and speed up the tempo, because you have to be able to be fast and slow.
Yeah.
So it's not about having 1 9 that's fast and 1 9 that's slow. It's about whether the fly half and scrum half are on the same page with whether they're going fast or slow. If that makes sense.
Just on the back, because they know when they need to kick, for example. They know when they need to speed up the game when they're on the front foot. They need to know when they need to slow down when the forwards are tired, for example, because they have that connection where they've built that partnership, and now they know they can pretty much make the right decision every single time they have to go fast, slow, or kick.
And one thing I will say about the Mitchell Van Poortvliet is when Mitchell comes on, it does seem like everything comes off 9 a little bit more. But with Van Poortvliet, the game's less about him and more about whoever he's giving the ball to.
Yeah.
Is that a tactic? Do you think that's a tactic Borthwick's come through though? Because he knows the games are going to be tight towards the end, so he wants to speed up the tempo and get on the front foot towards the last 7-10 minutes.
I think with the slow forwards around the ruck and Mitchell coming on, you saw with the last try against Wales, the Ollie Lawrence try, a couple phases before, he was just getting around 1 forward, drawing in 2, and then giving short balls for a couple phases, and that creates the overlap.
Yeah. And I think I think Mitchell could now be the first 9 England have had since Dawson, if he's given a chance, to actually work well and for England to actually have an effective 9 and 10 partnership. Because since like our whole lifetime, we've never seen England have a good 9 and 10 partnership ever. Ben Youngs has had Ben Youngs. I don't think he's been with England for a long time, but I don't think he ever really connected well with